was an important step to kind of take us to that next level, right? So RuPay was very instrumental in energizing that entire ecosystem. So we got the card vendors, we got multiple card vendors entering into our ecosystem, issuing these cards. We got all these systems in place for the banks to enable to issuance of debit cards and all. So today we also issue prepaid cards and credit cards. So we have been a late entrant in the credit card space. That's something that's we are going to build in the next couple of years. But that's been the story. And just to put some numbers on the debit card side, so we have around 660 million card in force on the debit side, 3.2 million on the credit side, and around 47 million on the prepaid side. So that's something on the numbers. And the most important part that I want to highlight is RuPay, out of the 660 million SIF card in force on the debit side, around 27% is basically for the PMJDY, which is Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana program. That's something that we have kind of been able to kind of go because of this mass distribution also, as well as affordability of the product. We were able to kind of impact so many lives, right? If you look at the overall growth from a transaction perspective on the terminals, on the merchant space, as well as on the e-com, in the last 4 or 5 years, we have grown at a CAGR of 120%, and that's like significant. From a market share perspective, on the debit side, we are almost 33% now. We want to kind of further grow, but as I said, we are still, this is one product where we are competing with other networks and other ICS. So it's a competition. While RuPay offers all the benefits in terms of the lowest cost, in terms of great innovation, we want to ensure that we kind of cover the entire segment within the RuPay card issuance and grow this market further.
Thank you so much for sharing, giving the numbers, the figures, and we are indeed a big country, and it is to reach even the last person would take a lot of initiative. But I think COVID has kind of changed it, triggered it, made it much faster, and companies such as yours and others have innovated for the Indian to create a Bharat-centric model, I would say. So, I would like to know more from you. You mentioned FASTag and the other initiatives. I'd like to hear more from you on that. But before that, perhaps in case you would like to touch, you mentioned that you have the Prime Minister's Jan Dhan Yojana and other things, initiatives which you're involved. Is there anything specific you're doing with women or other, to promote more women use of digital payments? Because that's also been a challenge. In case you want to highlight certain things on that.
So Amrita, while obviously from a product perspective, right, we don't differentiate between who is using it, right? We definitely would kind of customize our product offering basis these segments that we are operating. So if I have to speak specifically for RuPay, the PMJDY scheme itself was such a challenging task for all of us, and we kind of created that ecosystem and ensured that the while the banks took the lead and kind of actually led from the front in terms of opening the accounts and all, we ensured that on the issuance side, right, because there is a cost which is involved in this, so we ensured that at least from the card issuance side, from a transaction processing side, we kind of give them the best infrastructure at the lowest cost, and that's something that NPCI was able to kind of bring in. And in the rural segment, it is not only the issuance which is a challenge, right? The acceptance of these card was a different challenge altogether, and that's where we kind of ensured, and that's the strength of NPCI going to the root of the problem and solving it. We were able to at least energize the banking correspondent network within the rural areas, right? And that's something that was specifically done because you mentioned about women. Women won't be able to travel kilometers to the branch and kind of do any transactions, but she would always kind of travel out of her home in the village to the next shop for do the household purchases and all. And that's where we empowered the banking correspondents to accept these RuPay cards also, because banking correspondents were typically doing the Aadhaar enabled payments, the biometric payments that was happening at that point of time. We enabled that entire channel to accept the cards also, and help the not only the women's but all everyone, because the entire pain point was traveling from one village to say maybe whatever 50 kilometers, 60 kilometers, just to kind of access a bank branch. And that's something that we were able to do it. RuPay, we are trying to focus on women specific cards also, but that will be different segments. But you will see certain new programs coming out pretty soon on the RuPay platform.
Right. Thanks. Thanks so much. And I would like you to kind of share more on the other initiatives like the FASTag and all. And to the audience in the room, after that question, in case you have some comments, questions for Denny, please feel free to gather your thoughts. We'll come back to you. So, Denny, over to you.
Yeah. So, Amrita, FASTag is something which I can speak for hours and hours, because luckily for me, that was a project that came into NPCI, and I was like asked to take this forward along with my team. And so from day one onwards, I was involved, and hence kind of can talk for hours and hours. But I think FASTag has been a very silent revolution within the country, and it has transformed how Indians actually make a toll payment, right? It was 100% cash. There were so many challenges in terms of the leakages that were happening within the tolling ecosystem. More than the leakages, it is also about the implementation part, right? And now, although there were a lot of electronic tolling solutions which were available world over, uh, customizing something for India has been always been the challenge, because India has always looked at what is simple to implement at the lowest cost, and that's a combination which can only work in India, and that doesn't work outside, right? So outside, obviously, there is a cost element, and there will be always certain processes which would ensure. So, for example, tolling outside is always open tolling. You don't have to have a barrier at the toll plaza, right? It's always open. People move out because there are allied ecosystem available, where if there is any defaulter, you can kind of catch hold of and get the recover the payments. But in India, we don't have that as of now. So hence, there has to be a customized solution, as well as what is going to work at a lowest cost. And that's why this entire FASTag program came in, and it was launched way back in 2013, but it came to NPCI in 2016, basically, where we implemented it, right? And the timing was also that just after the demonetization, we kind of implemented FASTag. So it was a very exciting time. I still remember the nights that 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, people from the toll plaza would give me a call. But the fact, I mean, the point that I was trying to make is there were challenges in the implementation, and it has gone through a journey. And all due credits to Mort, our honorable minister, transport minister, who has driven this project, and the NHI officials. There have been some brilliant people within the NHI who have helped this to kind of ensure that this is a successful program. And today, if you look at it, this has been only possible because uh, NPCI had the support and the strength of all the banks who have participated in this program, are able to scale up this program. So we started with just 4 banks, and we went to 30, around 33 banks as of now. And the kind of transactions that is getting processed, and I can quote this because our honorable minister have put this across, right? So once this got implemented fully in 2019, the daily revenue of NHI from a 75 crore on a daily basis, it went up to 100 crores. So you can imagine that 25 crores jump, and it's a huge jump for a country like India, right? And the contribution that FASTag has paid in the entire digital revolution is something. It's just the starting, because there are other things that FASTag can do from a NEDC FASTag can do from a parking perspective, from other use cases. So that's an immense thing. Coming back to Rupe, Amrita, on the uh, other initiatives, I think one of the biggest initiatives that NPCI is currently doing on Rupe is the NCMC program, which is the National Common Mobility Card program. This is again being driven by MAUA, and we have again great support from our uh, leadership team from MAUA, who is driving this project across, where the transit use case has now become a biggest what do you say use case for every citizen, right? So how do we ensure that one card kind of can be used in across every uh, metro buses? So if I take the example of say Delhi, right? So Delhi, we have different lines, we have different orange line buses, other buses. So if everyone has to have a different payment solution, how is going to kind of impact both the operators as well as the citizens? So that's the genesis of NCMC, and we have come out with NCMC. Uh, I think by January, people within the country will start seeing the real impact of NCMC as we go live with multiple metro and bus projects. So Delhi Metro should go live by January. Mumbai Metro is going live. Then we have Bangalore Metro. We have Chennai and Hyderabad also going to kind of go live within December, January. So that's when the real strength of NCMC will come out, and NCMC has again further use case in terms of parking, in terms of loyalty program, in terms of access management. There are multiple use cases that the same card can kind of do. And the good part is that today every RuPay card is a NCMC card only. The customer has to enable certain functionality, and that's something that, as I said, people will start using it when all these metros will go live. So this is another initiative which is going to kind of benefit the citizens, because these are all going to be offline transactions, and customers don't have to kind of actually wait in the queue. They can just tap in and tap out with their existing debit card or a credit card or a prepaid card. So that's wonderful thing. Another initiative that we have taken is on the different form factors, right? So today you don't have to have a physical card as a card, right? The form factors can be different. So we have keychain, we have watches. I mean, and that's something that we are trying to. We have mobile stickers, so you just stick, because not every phone is an NFC phone. So we have stickers. You can just stick it on the mobile phone. It can act as a debit card. It can act as a prepaid card. So that's the innovation that we are trying to bring in. That because there is a different segment altogether where customer wants to kind of have a different form factor. The latest innovation is we have now kind of got the UPI railroads going for RuPay. So now any RuPay credit card customers can kind of link their credit card onto UPI and avail the benefits of a credit card on UPI, and that's going to change the credit card market, because UPI then becomes a platform to kind of enable any product, right? It can be a savings bank account, it can be a credit card account, it can be a prepaid account. So it's going to be a platform. The real strength is, while we have around 6 million terminals, 7 million, 6.5 million terminals for physical card acceptance, UPI takes that to 70 million, right? And that's the power, and that's where uh, even for the credit card issuers, now they can start looking at issuing the credit cards in a category B or C city, right? Where they may not have too many terminals for card acceptance, physical card acceptance, but UPI is accepted there, and that's going to change how a credit card is also issued. And again, just to share some numbers, if you look at out of the so we have around 939 million debit card customers in the country. And if I compare to credit card, it's just 79 million, right? So that's the gap. That's the gap, right? And everyone would want to kind of have a credit card as a product because I mean it really helps. We have recently seen the success story of BNPL, and it has shown that there is a credit market where people are not looking at very fancy credit limits or anything, but small credits also. UPI is something that can be utilized, and we can kind of really issue such cards, credit cards in the market where customers also benefits, the merchants also benefits, the banks benefits. So ultimately, that's something that we want to do. We want to democratize credit in the country. We want to ensure that every citizen, I mean, out of this 939, I'm sure hundreds and hundreds of customers, thousands of customers are eligible for a credit card, but still they don't get it. But through UPI, we are envisaging how do we kind of take this credit penetration in the country, right? How can, if I need just a 5,000 rupees limit of on this, how do I get a credit card on the fly? How do I use it using UPI? If I need to even convert that into an EMI, that's something that would be possible on the UPI regular. So those are the innovations we are planning to bring in. Currently, that entire thing is working on a pilot phase. We just have 4 banks who've just launched it. Many more banks are in the pipeline to join it. But this is going to change the way India kind of accesses credit. Uh, so yeah, those are the few things, Amrita, which I just want to do kind of
No,
highlight.
thank you, Denny. This has been exciting knowing about how the integrations are happening, the NCMC and others. So there is a question in the chat, but I'm not sure if you can answer. And by the time, if there is anyone in the room who has any questions, they can come up to the mic. There is a question from IIT Gandhinagar Hub, which says, why was e-rupee launched? I guess that's not in your mandate, but in case you want to, and then it says that since UPI is already successful, also we won't get any interest on e-rupee. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I understand we may not have any
Great question, madam.
intermediaries
My question,
or,
please remind.
or banks if we use e-rupee. What would you think would be e-rupee successful? As in, this is a question, but I see someone standing. In case e-rupee is not something within your mandate, we can skip it. But Satish, I see you in the screen.
Amrita, there are about 3 or 4 questions here in the
Fair
room.
enough. Let's take them.
Okay.
Amrita ji, I'd
Yes.
like to start first. My name is Shantanu. I have a simple question for Mr. Danny.
Okay.
As of now, what we are doing, whenever you are going for any UPI payment, the screen is coming in English, right? Since we are talking about multilingual internet, so what is the plan of NPCI for having other languages on the screen? Thank you.
Thank you, Shantanu. Very important question. Shantanu is also part of the coordination committee of India IGF and a chartered
But,
accountant.
do you want to take all the questions and then have a single answer in view of time?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you, Amrita. And Mr. Denny, of course, my question is not similar than what. My question is like, what is the comparison between this new e-rupee, CBDC, and e-rupee, your rupiah and UPI, or both are, I think, different, but we will like to know whether there are complementation of each other, whether UPI as a platform can be used for our e-rupee CBDC or not.
Sure.
Thank you, Gupta ji. Which is the next question?
Greetings, everyone. So before coming up to the question, I would like to take 1 minute for sharing my thoughts. So actually, I wanted to ask this question in my first session. So I'm a girl from Leh Ladakh and from a rural area. So they were discussing about rural areas, about innovations and all. So I personally, I have been gaining a lot of knowledge after coming out of Ladakh. Before, like in Ladakh, there was like during COVID time also, there was no internet connection. And then leave internet, there was not even network from where we can even have calls. And before that as well, we had internet shutdown due to like Kashmir Pulwama attack and all. So it was complete 1 year shutdown. So students were facing a lot of problems. Now after coming for the competitive exams, we were not able to compete with the rest of the students of the India. So we were facing a lot of difficulties. So even if we want to gain a lot of knowledge from people, from different sources, from YouTube and all, but we were not able to access that. So I thought that I'll get some exposure, I'll go outside and I'll gain some knowledge, and so that I will be useful to let other students who are facing a lot of problems, they are not even able to study. So I wanted to spread some internet awareness for them from the rural areas, because in Ladakh 80% of the people are from the rural areas, like they are nomadics, and then they don't even know about internet. And then as Daniel sir was speaking about FASTag, RuPay, they are not even aware of it. Even if I will go and tell them about FASTag and all, they'll make the credit cards, they'll make the RuPay, they'll make the account there. But what's the use when they will, like in Ladakh, there's no access of that sensor and all. So even if they will know about it, they won't be able to use it on a regular basis. And my question, this was my question actually. And one more thing I want to share is that for 6 to 7 months, there are 2 ways to lay. There are no railways, not only roadways, and that also gets blocked during winter times. And due to heavy snowfall, the people are not even they don't even get internet facilities, network, electricity, anything. They face a lot of challenges. And out of 100 people, only 5 to 10 people would be knowing about internet, how to access internet, how to use GPay, online payments and all. And out of that, only 1 or 2 people, they get prone to like cyber attacks, like especially when my one teacher of my previous school, he clicked on one message on a link, and then he got like his all money got debited on the spot. So because of that, people like has that fear that what if I use internet, then they, like the people of Ladakh are facing a lot of like trust issues on the internet. And then like if I want to spread awareness about internet, they are like not willing to do it. And on my level, like I'm a bachelor student, I try my best to tell people about internet, how to use internet, like about this. But alone me, I am not able to do it on my own level. So I want some advices also, like how can I be useful to tell the people, not only Ladakh but other rural areas, how to spread about internet, how to spread about online payments, and how to spread about cyber crimes and cyber attacks. Thank you.
Thank you. Jigmet, could you introduce yourself? The people didn't get your name.
Yes, my name is Jigme Dolkar, and I'm pursuing my BSc course in Forensic Science in NFSU Delhi campus. And I'm from Leh Ladakh. Thank you.
Thank you, Jigmet. Satish, do we have any other questions?
Are there any other questions? No, we are done actually. Over to you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Before I go to Denny, thank you so much, Jigmet, for your question. Unfortunately, that's a crucial thing, that we want to connect the whole of India, and there are many parts which are still to be connected, and there are various people who are working on it. I understand your frustration. Any remote part, there is a huge divide. The government is trying, the private sector is trying, and over the next couple of days, we would be discussing it. There would be some people who are speaking on access also. While RuPay, etc., may not seem to be relevant today, however, if you look at it, there are trucks flowing in with, goods into those regions. They need FASTags because they pass through different, states, etc. So even there would be there are business transactions which are done, so those require these kind of access. Not the bottom of the pyramid, but people who are serving the bottom of the pyramid need these facilities, and these trucks even go to Leh Ladakh, etc. So those are certain things. These are tiny steps, but there are steps being taken. Is it adequate? No, but it needs more to be done, and I think everyone needs to work on it. Those would be my take. Now I would go to Denny. If I remember correctly, there is a question about multilingualism. to make it more easily accessible to people who do not understand English, which is most of India. And Mr. S. N. Gupta had questions about differences between or comparison between e-rupee and UPI and the others. And obviously, there's a question on the chat for you. So over to you, Danny.
Yeah. So thanks, Amrita, and thank you everyone for asking these questions. And I think all of them are very pertinent to what India is, right? India is diverse. India is diverse in as many ways as you can think, right? So I mean, people ask me where are you from. So I'm basically a Malayali, but born and brought up in Bhopal, and I've been working in all the possible cities of the country. So I have to introduce in the end that I am an Indian only, right? So because and that's how diverse we are. And the moment we talk about this diversity, obviously our solutions have to be also equally diverse. So to answer Shantanu on the multilingual part, that's something that we have been always been very clear on, that finally if we have to reach to the real users who are in different parts of the world, we will. So from a UPI perspective, there are certain apps who are already providing that. Already providing services in multilingual. From a Beam perspective, we are also working on the same. There are certain initiatives that we have taken from NPCI end, and we are trying to kind of at least have multilingual call centers in terms of the initiatives that we have taken on the chatbot that we have recently introduced. So we are definitely, sir, working on it. To answer to Gupta ji and the other what do you say question on the chat. So I'll just, because in the interest of time, I'll just kind of differentiate this, and I'll quote our again Honorable Governor from RBI. He had explained this very clearly. So when we talk about UPI and the difference between CBDC and UPI is very simple, right? When we talk about UPI is going to kind of connect between two financial institutions through different apps, right? And NPCI plays that switch role in terms of switching these transactions and doing these settlements. But in the end, you need to have two financial transactions. With e-rupee, what we are saying is that so finally it's just to replace the cash, physical cash, right? So the governor explained in a very simple one that you go and kind of get e-rupee issued for whatever XYZ currency. Now, if you have to pay at a merchant location, okay, you don't need the involvement of a bank for processing these transactions. Whereas if you need to do a UPI transaction, you still have to go back to the bank and take the authorization and get the transactions completed. Here, if you have kind of got the e-rupee on your device, you can actually kind of pay it there itself. You don't have to go through it, right? And that's the technology change that we are bringing into the implementation. And to the last, and again, to the interest of time, while obviously internet is now becoming a prerequisite for any kind of digital payment initiative. So I'll just restrict my answer on the payment side of it, because on the overall infrastructure, I'll not be able to comment much. As Amrita has already said, a lot needs to be done, but we are still doing it. But on the payment side, we are definitely looking at how do we kind of enable offline payments. So when I say offline payments, we don't have an internet connection, but still the payments needs to happen, right? And that's something that we have started off with NCMC, where you can actually, so when today you are going to ride a metro and you're going to tap a RuPay NCMC card, uh, the terminal and the cards are talking to each other and doing this authorization. So it is not going to the bank. So unlike the normal debit card or credit card transactions, where when you swipe it on the terminal, the authorization, as in the request, goes to the bank for saying a yes or a no, right? And that's how the transaction process. So here it is a completely offline transactions. it will happen between the card and the terminal. And this can be extended to all these places where we don't have network. So incidentally, not many of us would be aware that, so we have a POS terminal in the Parliament. Parliament doesn't have network because there are jammers. So there is a terminal, and RuPay cards are getting accepted there because it's offline transactions, right? A similar kind of a thing, we have extended it for all known network areas where you don't have a network, you can do it, but it will be restricted to small value transactions only. Similarly, we are taking this initiative to UPI, where we are saying that UPI Lite has been launched in a similar way. Today, it is not completely offline, but the objective is again to reach there. So UPI transactions also, if any transaction is below 200, you can just simply use a UPI Lite and get the transactions done. So those are the initiatives that we are taking.
Thank you so much, Denny. I know we are short of time and there are a lot more which questions people have and you have to share. But anyways, thank you so much for sparing so much of time and sharing, the different initiatives which are currently underway and the pilots which are on. We are in exciting times and we hope to benefit as consumers of all these services. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Amrita. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. Thanks, everyone.
So, Satish, we break for lunch now, and I guess the next session is at 2:30.
Right. We disperse now. Thank you.